How do you stand out as an artist? I've been asking myself for a long time. Today I'm sharing with you what I found to be the single most important answer to that question. Hi everyone, I'm Rochelle, a revived artist working on her mission to make great art. Welcome to my YouTube channel. As a born-again artist who took a year off to question my life choices, I have done a lot of research into this topic. Today I'll show you what I learned from studying other artists and how I've started to apply what I found. The painting I'm creating in this video is an example of me applying what I've learned for the first time. To find the answer to this question, I looked closely at two artists, but I can promise you that probably every artist that you admire has most likely had this question and found a way to answer it for themselves. So, how do you stand out as an artist? It's simple. Have an agenda. Let me break it down for you. The first artist I looked at was Victoria Gavrilenko. I've been following her since her early DA days and have seen an incredible improvement in her work over the past few years. I've been making art just as long as Victoria, maybe even longer, but my work hasn't improved nearly as much as hers. So what am I doing wrong? I remember tuning into a live stream of Victoria's many years ago and was struck by how long it took her to paint. I mean, she would make one stroke and it would seem like she contemplated that same stroke for hours before she moved on to the next. In a world of speed paints where it seemed everyone was in a rush to get to some kind of finish line, this was completely mesmerizing and totally refreshing. The time it takes Victoria to complete one painting can also be witnessed in how regularly she posts to social media. We can see here that she is not fighting with any algorithm. At the time of this video, Victoria has a very substantial following. It's obvious to me that Victoria will take as long as she needs to achieve her painting goals. I don't know her personally, but I believe these goals are something along the lines of outdoing herself when it comes to creating wickedly beautiful art. The second person I looked at closely was Thomas Wilmer Dewing. Between 1872 and 1938, Dewing worked as an artist with his main subject being refined women in a ghostly, dreamlike surrounding. This was his agenda. I don't know how many followers he might have had on Instagram today, but you can just see by looking at his work that he was working to achieve something. He was telling us a story with his paintings. You might find it odd that I've chosen two completely different artists here, but I did this to illustrate my point. It doesn't matter who you are or how you make your art, this method still applies. I want you to also understand that I'm measuring success not only by the number of followers a person has or their artistic fame, but also by their artistic skill level. These artists didn't slave away at the canvas for years just to paint a pretty rose. Rather, once they got the pretty rose stage out of their system, they had something to say and they wanted you to hear it all the way in the back. No Twitter in 1875 in particular for Dewing meant that people in his era had to get creative when it came to getting the public's attention. You can see Dewing doing this with every single one of his paintings. So what's your aim? What's the purpose behind you taking 8 hours to make a piece? If you aren't trying to communicate anything, why should anyone look? This took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. I made piece after piece and it just continued to miss the mark. I mean, all that matters was that I was drawing, right? No. Because not only did no one else care about what I was making, I didn't care. Don't forget that you are your first audience. If it doesn't matter to you, why are you making it? And why should it matter to anyone else? Okay, so you have 1 million followers on Instagram, but how many of them care about what you do really? Subconsciously, people see what you're trying to do. They understand your plight. But if it doesn't really feel like you have one, you are just grinding out work to grow your following, and people will sense that. They might stick around because your work is pretty, but when you post, they won't really care. Having an agenda is like making yourself the hero in the hero's journey. And when people can see what you're trying to do, they will share the obstacles with you and root you on. They will start to see the value in the mission you've set for yourself and will become emotionally invested, turning them from followers into true fans. Let's try to really put our effort into something that means something to us. So, how have I started to apply all of this? As I mentioned in my last video, my goal is to create otherworldly beauty and make it feel touchable. This painting is of a character I'm calling Angel of the New Dawn. I chose the subject for two reasons. One, because I love art with spiritual meaning, and two, because dawn is my favourite time of day. It symbolises new chances and reawakening, and that's important to me, which is why although she is in shadow, the rising sun behind her signifies the new day and the chance to start afresh. Can I just stress before I go that the subject matter really does not matter. You can choose to make art on global warming or BTS fan art. It doesn't matter because both of those things have an audience who will appreciate what you've made. So when I approach a painting now, I always have two things in mind. Number one is to take your time and push on until you have what you set out to achieve. Unless you're under a deadline, don't rush. This is also your time to learn. Number two, have an overall aim that you're working to achieve. Something you want as a running theme that sits silently but dominantly behind all of your work. When you've done this, the grind feels so much more rewarding because you know that in the long run, regardless of whether you make 1 million followers on Instagram or 10,000 likes on Twitter, you know that you made something that means something to you. And when people ask you about it, you can speak proudly about why you chose to produce that product. It's a conversation starter, and it might even help you gain some like-minded new friends. So to recap, make art that means something to you. Have an agenda. Your agenda can be anything, but it needs to be something that you're passionate about striving for. Like Victoria, it can be about painting something unbelievably beautiful, or like Dewing, it can be about painting something ghostly that feels as though you're looking through a window to another world. Either way, make art that means something to you. If you have any questions about my process or how you might find the reason behind why you make the work you do, feel free to ask and I'll either reply in the comments or answer your question in my next video. Share this video if you think it will help someone starting their artistic journey. Until next time, thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video.